So today's conversation is going to be about Mesker, who they are, what they are, and how they came to be part of dormakaba's group. I'm not going to go through and mention everything that's in this timeline, but I will put it up for reference for you. But Mesker is one of the oldest hollow metal companies in America. They're also the inventor of the hollow metal door. Because of that, they've made strides in the hollow metal door. They've innovated and they've made things that other manufacturers still do not have. One of those things is going to be the NVS door, which is a vertical seamed door that does not use putty or any type of filler or epoxy on the vertical seam. It is a fully welded vertical seam that is truly a full rolled edge. They also have a value series door. It's called the VX door that is more competitive than any of the foreign-made products that are out there and things like that. It's made here in the United States, and it's a great value product that you can use every day for stock doors or projects, things like that. So as Mesker started growing, they purchased, or dormakaba purchased Hollow Metal Express. Hollow Metal Express was primarily located down in Phoenix, Arizona. dormakaba put in a great investment over the past couple of years to change or reshape how Hollow Metal Express operates, going from that custom hollow metal house to more of a project house. Hollow Metal Express still does do a lot of custom work and things like that, but they are starting to gear more towards the project work and things like that. Hollow Metal Express out of Phoenix is a perfect place where you can order a 5-day quick ship, a 3-day quick ship, 7-day quick ship, or even a 15-day quick ship. And in our market, we run a truck every week. So if you order on a 72-hour quick ship, that order is going to ship within 72 hours and hopefully arrive at your dock by the end of the week or Monday of the next week. This slide here represents SDI. Mesker, along with a lot of other major manufacturers, are part of SDI. And SDI is the Steel Door Institute. And these are some of the ANSI standards that are continuously updated and maintained for our manufacturer, Mesker, to be considered SDI certified. Here's a list of some of the other SDI certified members. The most notable one that you see here is going to be Curry's and Steelcraft. Hollow Metal Express is here. Mesker's here. Pioneer, which is a Assa Abloy group company. Dean Steel is here. That's a Texas company. And also Seco, who is also part of Assa Abloy. Republic is also down there at the bottom left. Some notable places that are not part of SDI that I think that we're going to talk about in a competitive way today is going to be GH, Daybar, Gen Steel, and DKS. DKS, GH, we're going to be going right at in this presentation because our product, the VX that we've just introduced, is designed just to compete with those companies at a better price. So this slide represents our go-to market strategy. Basically, Mesker, before they were owned by dormakaba, they created a speed to market strategy to where they can provide hollow metal, wood doors, and finished hardware to your doorstep, coming from one manufacturer or coming from one shipment. The idea behind it was that Mesker wanted to be fast. They wanted to get you stuff in 5, 10, 15 days to where you can supply your mid-tier projects or even your high-end projects, low-use projects in a fast way. They wanted to bring value to not only your project, but also to your pocketbooks. And as you can see in here, you know, they were had cross-cluster selling, leverage selling, design hardware, selling wood doors, being able to sell the custom work from Hollow Metal Express and also the project work from Mesker. Now we've kind of reshaped that, where we have Stanley, we have dormakaba's products such as Best and Dorma, and we still have the Wood Door Express line. It's provided by another manufacturer, but we can provide stained grade doors in red oak, birch, maple, ash, and mahogany in a very quick turnaround. And I'll show you in the next couple of slides where they're located and that sort of thing. So as you can see, their facilities, what they have and things like that, they're all located across the South in Phoenix, Texas, Alabama, and Florida. Here's a list of where material is being stocked. And then here's a list of what Hollow Metal Express does compared to what Mesker does. It's kind of reshaping a little bit as we go through and reshape what Hollow Metal Express is and turning them more into Mesker. But as you can see from this chart here, as far as service is concerned, people regionally in the Phoenix area, in the Western region, they still talk about Hollow Metal Express, about their service and their quality, how fast they were, and things like that. And I'm not going to sit here and try to worm around some of the problems that we had over the past 2 years. Hollow Metal Express was a great company. Once it was reshaped, we had a lot of hiccups and things like that, trying to transform a custom hollow metal house into a project house and then into a stocking house and things like that. It was very difficult. We had our hiccups last year. Our lead times were extended way past where we ever wanted them to be. But Mesker's back, baby, and they're putting out material in 72 hours, 5 days, 3 days, 15 days, and it's competitive. Hollow Metal Express used to be, and as you can see it in this price here, it was at a premium. Give them an opportunity. Everyone that's on this call, I'm sure, knows Ron Kelly. Ron Kelly is the best in the business, and I don't say that because he works for dormakaba. The guy literally eats hollow metal for breakfast, bleeds hollow metal whenever he gets a scratch. He is hollow metal. He's been in this industry for, I don't even want to say, but he's been in this industry for a long time, and he knows hollow metal, and he can help anyone with any problem that they have, and he can make things very competitive for you, for your projects and things like that, and get them to you in a way that helps not only you, but also your customer. So some of the things that, as we discussed, some of the changes that we made over the past couple of years, we're starting to get away from that Hollow Metal Express, that brand. We all know it, we keep it labeled on there, but we're changing to more of a single mindset, dormakaba mindset, where everything is going to look the same, whether it be the finished hardware that you get from Stanley, Best, Precision, Dorma, or Design Hardware, or even looking at the Mesker Hollow Metal or our Wood Door Express line. It's all going to have the same nomenclature, the same paperwork, and things like that, so that way you get used to what we have to offer. And sorry, I just saw that I have a box over here in the background. My wife, she loves Pottery Barn. And I mean, if you need something from Pottery Barn, let me know, because it's a whole long adventure. But we have a lot of storage in my office now. Let's get into door construction. As we get into door construction, I want you to know that our steel is not foreign made. It doesn't come from anywhere but the United States. Our standard is 18 gauge. Well, we also offer 20, 16, 14, and 12 gauge, depending on what your project needs are, what the specifications justify. Our standard was cold rolled steel, but as of a few months ago, our standard now became the galvanized, the A40 galvanized. We did that, one, because we're offering you a better product, but two, the pandemic has changed a lot of things, and it's reshaped the mindsets of everyone, how we procure material, how we buy metal and things like that, and buying a single source metal and things just makes more sense. So our primer, just like everyone else that's in the market, is a water-based electrostatic baked-on rust-inhibited primer. And we do offer stainless steel. While we do offer the 304 and the 316 stainless steel, it might not be as competitive, and it might not be the same look that you would get from a company that specializes in stainless steel. I want you to be wary of that. It is offered, but it's not something that we sell a lot of. So our doors are a panel lid interlocking design. As you can see here, one side, which is the underside of the door, where you're going to have your edge that's break formed over. It's going to form a U, and on the top of it, we have a pan, which is the door face, and we put it on, slide it on, and it interlocks. Now, with our N-series door, which is changing to our CX series, I'll get into this here in a second, we hem the weld down the vertical edge of the door. With our NVS series door, we vertically weld or continuously weld the vertical seam or the vertical edge of that door. We do have a product, the VX, that we've just introduced last year, that once that slot and tab happens, we epoxy down the face of the door so it's glued down, and then we just spot weld at the four corners of the door. So our doors, our standard are, they're non-handed. We used to have a commodity door, the design door, that was a handed door. We've gone away from that. All of our doors are now the same. We do have a beveled edge on the block side and on the hinge side. That is an option depending on your project needs. So this is what our standard looks like. And as you can see here, you can see the U-shape design here, and you can see the pan that goes on the top of it. You can even see the interlocking portion below it. So this right here represents our closure reinforcement. We do use the tread core as an option now. Our flat panel core polystyrene is more of our standard now, but the intent of this slide is to show that instead of cutting around the reinforcement or jamming our reinforcements in, we feel our reinforcements to where they're solid. So as you go in and drill for your closers and drill for any other type of hardware that's face mounted or surface mounted, you're going to have polystyrene or polyurethane. You're going to have a core that's inside of there. So something that's different about Mesker as compared to other manufacturers are our reinforcement. Not only do we use a thicker gauge of reinforcement as opposed to other manufacturers, we actually lose money when providing our reinforcement, and we do that because we want something that's better than just providing something that works. So as you can see, check out the reinforcement that's on the right, and it is this one right here. You notice that this strap right here is a lot longer than the straps on this side and also the strap that's here. Well, what that is for is on the top hinge, we use this strap right here. And we do that because all the weight of the opening, all the weight of the door is on the top hinge. The other ones are just used for a pivot point. And so by using this longer strap, you can see that the weld points at the strap, we have a whole lot more than you would on this side. So you have a whole lot more capacity, I guess, and reinforcement for that top hinge, and it prevents the door from sagging and problems that you would find in the field. So our standard is the inverted edge, which is going to look like a U channel at the top, but we also have the optional flush edge. This is similar to other manufacturers that are in the market. As you can see here, here are the different cores that we offer. Our NVS core, this HDP flat core is standard, but the full polystyrene flat core, which you see here, is also going to be a standard that you'll see in our doors. We do also offer the tread core, but the tread core, if I can remember correctly, Ron stated that the intent behind the tread core was sound transmission, trapping sound waves, things like that, where our door had a better sound transmission out the gate than other manufacturers that are in the market. And we didn't do that to market sound transparency, but we did that to just offer something better for our doors. Our standard is the factory mutual MYLAR labels. They are rateable. Our hollow metal doors are rateable up to 3 hours. And as you can see here, we have temperature rise at 650 degrees at 30 minutes. And what that means is for 30 minutes, our doors will stay at 250 degrees. And, as after that 30 minutes, they will, rise up to 650 degrees over a duration of 3 hours. So this goes into the temperature rise portion of what we will be talking about later on in the program, but it's not used as often anymore. But this used to be a big thing in stairwells where you had fire on the the building side, and as you're escaping through the stairwell, touching that door, you would you could feel the heat on the other side, but it would be maintained at a lower temperature. I think other manufacturers, their standard is 400 degrees. As you can see here, Mesker has been tested and rated with UL, Warnock Hersey, and others have only, they usually only offer UL or Intertech. I'll have to get back to you on that one, Bart. I don't know. So here's one that I wanted to talk about. It's the VX door. So the VX door is going to be our most versatile door that we have in our market. And what this is for companies that stock hollow metal doors, that usually stock your GH door, your DKS, your Envoy door from Assa Abloy, or even Republic, or Steelcraft. This competes right along with those guys, and here's what it looks like. So the VX door right now, all we offer it in is 3068 and 3070, and we do this because we want to be able to produce these doors and get them out the door as fast as possible. We had such a high demand in the middle of last year that the doors that we thought we would have plenty of as far as stock is concerned, we ran out of very quickly. So here's some of the offerings that we have. The 86 prep and the 161 prep, these are our standards. And what that is the 161 is the 2 1/8 inch bore cylindrical lock prep, the 161 turtle prep, which has all the holes for each manufacturer, the cross holes and also the square holes, depending on the manufacturer that you use. And then the 86 prep is the mortise lock prep on the edge. We don't prep the face of the door, but we prep the edge. So standard is galvanized. They are gray primed, non-handed, flush top. They are rateable. They are rated up to 3 hours. Polystyrene core with an R factor of 6. They have a standard closer reinforcement. And the biggest thing here, they qualify for Buy America. So if you have a government project where, think about government jobs where all they talk about is price, but they want the best product that's out there, but at the lowest possible price. Well, if you go in and you supply something like the N-Series door, which is our mid-tier commercial series door, it's going to be way out of the price range. Well, the doors that they can't afford are going to be somewhere like DKS or GH. Well, those doors don't qualify for Buy America. So it's a very, very hard process to try to get something sold whenever it doesn't meet the standard and you also don't meet the price. VX. Give VX a shot. If you have standard cylindrical lock, if you have rim exit device, if you have a mortise lock, which are your three most common applications. If you have surface vertical rod, the VX is perfect for what you're doing. We can't do right now 4 O's, 3 6s, 2 8s, 2 6s. We can't do 2 O's. We can't do 8 O's. We can't do 9 O's. And we also can't do inactive preps. But for the run-of-the-mill, the standard, the 306.8s and the 307.0s, we can do them all day long, and we can compete in a way that the manufacturers can't compete with. So the N-Series, here's what the N-Series looks like. It's a standard commercial hollow metal door, but it has a seamed edge where you can see the seam along the edge. It is square cornered or square edged. It is non-handed. It is rateable just like the VX door. You can do a ton of different designs, wood grain, flat panel, things like that. And we'll look at the different design capabilities here in, I think, 4 slides. So this is a slide that represents the optional bevel that we do offer. So as you can see, our standard is a square edge, which you see right here, or we do an 1/8 on 3 degrees, or 2 inches, 1/8 over 2 inches, which is your standard bevel. BV1 represents the lock edge bevel, BV2, hinge and lock. But this prep is built to meet or exceed ANSI standards, which most hollow metal manufacturers are going to tell you that same pitch, where we either meet or exceed the standard. Competing with Mesker, it's a little bit different because a lot of manufacturers use a roll form, which gives that eased edge when looking at frames and also looking at doors. Mesker is a little bit different. They use a break form, so it gives everything a tight, crisp look as far as your frames and your doors are concerned. In the N-Series, you can purchase a steel stiffened door. Here's a cute little graph of what our steel stiffened door looks like and how it retracts and things like that. But I will say that if you're going to spend all the money to buy a door that's steel stiffened, that weighs 300 pounds, you might want to take a look at our NVS door. Because the NVS door, because it has the vertical edge or the vertical edge continuously welded, it gives the exact same or more durability of a steel stiffened door without having to have all that steel on the inside. What does that do for your installers that are in the field, whether they're hired by you or they're hired by the contractor? It allows them to install a whole lot more doors, a whole lot faster. They're going to love you for not providing them something that's heavy and outdated, and they're going to be able to install a whole lot more doors over that course of the project. So the NVS door, take a look at this edge seam here. As you can see, it's continuously welded, and then it's grinded to where it creates that nice beveled edge that you would expect in a hollow metal door without having that putty. So take a look at this one. Oh yes, this photo here. I don't know if you can even see it, but most manufacturers, they will use their commercial series product, then they'll putty or epoxy the edge of the door, whether it be in the seam or even the whole way down. I think, I went on a factory tour one time at a manufacturer that is based out of Mexico. They were later purchased by one of the largest manufacturers here in the United States. But these guys did a whole lot of custom work. I'm not going to disparage them at all by telling their name, but they did a whole lot of great work. But what they did at on the edge of the door, once they built their door, because they were a custom hollow metal house, is they would take green Bondo all the way down the edge of that door from top to bottom, and then they had a guy that basically was good enough to work in an auto body shop, and he would sand the thing smooth, and he would make it to where you couldn't even tell that it was bondoed on the edge. That's all perfectly fine and well, and most of the time it works out great. But at the times that it doesn't work out great are right here. If you have a door that sits, on the exterior, and it faces the sun during the day, and it takes a lot of that heat strain. What happens is that door starts to bow and flex and things like that. And what you would see out of this manufacturer is over time, that Bondo would start to crack away, fall off, and you'd have a big problem on your hands because you'd have to hire someone that was a professional, body shop guy or auto body guy to come out and fix that Bondo work, or the door wouldn't look the same. When you have a product like the NVS door, we don't use Bondo at all. We continuously weld it down, grind it smooth, and then send it down. It's primed, finished, and it's done. So it's a lot different than what you would see in other manufacturers. So here's the debate here between the steel stiffened door and the NVS door. As you can see, the steel stiffened door, there's nothing wrong with it. It's heavy, it's durable, it's strong, but the NVS door is 3 times stronger than a steel stiffened door. The aesthetics, once you paint a steel stiffened door, a lot of times you can see that ripple over every 6 inches where you have those 2 studs that meet together at that door. You don't see that on our door because there's nothing inside there but your foam core. We use a high density polystyrene, and it's packed. I think it's 9 pounds per square foot or something like that. I'll have to ask Ron to clarify that. But we fill it full of foam instead of filling it full of steel. By doing that, you're able to do a whole lot more with that door. One of the most notable things is, have you ever tried to add a raceway after the fact to a steel stiffened door? And this raceway is for electrification. If you haven't tried that, go and try it at one of your job sites and tell me, how it turns out putting that drill bit through where you have loose metal inside trying to get through a raceway. And then come back and then we'll talk about the NVS door with that polystyrene, how you can add a raceway through and how it's easy. The weight. So looking at just the weight alone, by adding all that other steel, so to a door that's already 185 pounds, you add an additional 80 to 90 pounds to a 3070 door. So that's, 270 pounds versus 180 pounds. That's a big difference. And the cost, there's a huge difference between a steel stiffened door and our NVS door. Less labor, less parts, which means lower cost. Earlier I discussed wood grain and embossed panel, but didn't discuss it in detail because we had this slide here. Take a look at the 12 different designs that we have in our embossed panel. I will say, before you order, before you ask for a quote, check with me or Ron to see what is available as far as the lead time on that embossed panel. I think we just had a 1 panel project where we had enough skins to do half of the job. The other half of the job we had to get in from the manufacturer, and of that particular factory, the guys were on strike. The lead time was extended, and we had to scramble to find the person's material. But take a look at what we have here. All of these are offered in wood grain, and here's the designs that are available in embossed panel. We do have restrictions as far as what we can do as far as width and height. And as you can see, the 1, 2 arch top 2 panel, they're available up to 3'6", and the 6 panel is available up to 8 foot. This is a quick little slide about temperaturized doors. We talked about it a little bit, but I thought it was good that you can see it here and actually read what we are talking about. But the basic thought is, as a fire starts on the room side of a door, the stairwell side of the door or the opposite side of the door, that's the portion where the temperature rise is discussed. So you have heat coming in from the room side, and that heat transfer through the door is what is discussed. Our doors, up to 30 minutes, the doors will be held below 250 degrees, whereas other manufacturers out there, the normal standard is 400 degrees. Now, 400 degrees, I don't know if you've ever put your hand inside a barbecue pit, but 400 degrees is pretty hot. We also offer in our doors, thermal performance. We have thermal break frames. So we talked about the thermal performance earlier with our urethane core, or our HDP core. Our value is up to 6.075, I believe. I'll have to confirm that exact number, but I know it's at 6 for sure. So this is basically where you had the temperature rise doors that would stop the heat transfer going through the door. This does the exact same thing, where it keeps the air that's on the inside, the cool air on the inside, keeps it from transferring through the door and leaving through the building, and it keeps heat from the outside going through the door to the inside from going through. So basically, it's the same transfer. So this has, instead of dealing with the metal, this all deals with the core of the door. RHDP urethane core is what prevents that. We also offer bullet-resistant doors. Available sizes are 4 foot in width, up to 4 foot in width, and up to 10 foot in height. And I believe we can go up to level 3, which is going to be basic bullet-resistant doors. We have FEMA-rated openings. There are some folks that are on this call that are in that tornado corridor and also in that hurricane corridor, which I took out this morning, but we do meet those standards. The Miami-Dade standard, the Florida Building Code standard, and also the, the Texas Insurance Code. We meet all those standards. We have doors available for them and things like that. But check with me prior to ordering or getting a quote on if your hardware also meets those same standards. If you do not have hardware that meets the standards, we have some from Precision, Best, and Dormicaba that will. So let's get into some frames. And before we do that, do you guys have any questions? I don't see anything in the chat, but if there's any questions, just let me know. Okay. So let's talk about frames. Frames are going to be the exact same way, but where we had 18 gauge as our standard on the doors, we are at 16 gauge standard on our frames. This is going to be commonplace between other manufacturers that are in the market. Again, cold rolled steel was the standard. It's no longer that standard. A40 galvanized now is the standard, and we also have A60 available. Again, our steel is American made, so we're not going to have that same problem where you buy foreign made steel that is dirty metal and things like that. Our steel is clean, it's American made. And also, I want to discuss that whole galvanneal problem. I see it all the time where, customers have that big worry if they have a hollow metal shop and they were using cold rolled steel and they switch to galvanized steel. Once you burn that galvanized metal, the gas that comes out from it, is it toxic? Can it hurt you? Absolutely. So quick suggestion on if you have a hollow metal facility, I am not telling you what to do, how to operate, or anything like that, but a quick suggestion is to take your grinder, any weld spot that you have, and grind that thing down, penetrate the metal, because what you will do is you will remove that coating of galvanization, and it will allow you to weld on that metal in a clean fashion without having to get that dangerous fume up in your face. This will also remove the pop marks and things like that. Galvannealed is a hot dip process, Kiki. that it does try to prevent rust, but I want to tell you, any place where there's a weld, the galvanization is gone, you burn right through it. So what happens is you put the primer over the top of it. It's a rust-inhibited primer. That primer is what's saving your frame from rusting. And so if in the field, if you have any scratches, if you have any damage to that rust-inhibited primer, what you want to do is you want to reprime that prior to finishing that frame out or finishing your door out. So one of the standards from Mesker is their 4-tab locking system. I have no idea, Otis. I'll have to get back with you on that one. There's a 4-tab locking system. Again, I just talked about the water-based electrostatic baked-on rust-inhibited primer. That is standard. Most manufacturers will use that exact same rust-inhibited primer or some form of rust-inhibited primer. They probably have a different formula and things like that. As you notice, you know, Curry's, their prime frame is a whole lot different than the one that you'll get from Steelcraft or from Mesker or from Dean Steel, or even some of the local regional manufacturers that are out there. They'll all be a little bit different. It's because their mix is a little bit different. So our frames are break formed, and as you can see here on the edge, how tight and crisp that that edge is, and that's because they use a brake press to form those frames out. So a variety of different frame profiles are available. As you can see, just in this photo set here, we have hospital stomp. We have, what is this here, an offset, or excuse me, no, this is the kerfed frame for, you know, a thermal break. We have single rabbet frames, double rabbet frames. You have unequal rabbet. All the different types that you would find, double egress frames and things like that, or even cased openings that have no stomp, we can make. We can even make custom designs for you with some limitations, I'm sure. As I stated before, sharp, crisp corners, tight bead lines, and this is every single time. I will say this, if you're ordering material from Alabama, and then ordering material from Phoenix, because those factories are different and because they are set up different, one set up for custom work, one set up for project work, one set up for, you know, one set up for the ability to have fast moving product going through, and one set up as an assembly line, they're going to look different whenever they come from those manufacturers. They'll still both be brake formed, but they'll be a little bit different. So because of the 4-tab locking system that they have, once you put those frames together, this is mostly if you're going to be using the DW series, or if you're going to be welding frames in your shop, if you're going to do EWA anchors and setting up knockdown frames, things like that. Once you put them together, you'll see that it's tight, it's crisp, and those 4-tab locking or those 4 tabs will allow you to have it tight and smooth. So your welding transition, if you're doing just a face weld or a full profile weld, it's a lot easier to do as opposed to not having that. Premium components. So instead of using just a you know, cut off from, you know, from other tabs or just using cheap components, Mesker, again, they lose money on the tabs and the components that they use inside their material, both in their doors and their frames. And they do that because they want to give you something that's better than, you know, any other manufacturer that's out there. So as you can see here, 14 gauge projection welded one-piece strike reinforcements to ensure optimal safety and security. You can see this is centered floor tab, which is also already prepped for your holes that are going into the floor. Factory installed plastic guards, standard on all their hinge reinforcements. 16 gauge floor anchors, which a lot of other manufacturers use, 18 or 20 gauge, 14 gauge closure reinforcements, which is optional. You don't have to have a closure reinforcement, but if you want it, we'll use a 14 gauge. And then we also have a wide style of different anchors. I mean, it's not shown here, but we also offer a multi-purpose anchor. I think we call it a universal anchor, but the same as most all the other manufacturers. The hinge reinforcement, as you can see in this photo here, we use a 7 gauge hinge reinforcement. We have the the bubbles. I don't want to tell you what they call them in the industry or in the field, but we have these little bubbles here that allow for standard standard grade or standard duty hinges, or you can grind these down smooth for a heavy duty hinge. Our standard on the frame is 5 inches from the top to the top of the hinge, 10 inches from the bottom of the frame to the bottom of the hinge, and then equal spacing in between. There's one other manufacturer that does the exact same, but we have a different location for our strike. So here's a look at our masonry frames. As you can see, we have all the tabs in, just like other manufacturers will. You can see our 4-tab slot design, and you can see that it is only one break here to allow for mortar and the slide in to the block wall. And then we have drywall frames where you saw just one break earlier. You now see an additional break here, and what that does, it does two things. One, whenever you slide it into the drywall, or you slide the drywall into the frame, it will easily slide one way in, but it'll give resistance on sliding back. And then we have drywall frames, our DW series, which we've changed a little bit from this to what we're going to have here. And instead of talking about it and showing you, this long little speech here, I'm just going to show it to you in a video. So the cool thing about the DW frame is the installation capability of it, how fast it's able to be installed. Now, it talks about, 5 minutes or something along those lines. In the field, all walls are going to be different and things like that. So I understand that it might take longer than 5 minutes, but the idea is that it is something that's available. You can put it in faster than you can a standard hollow metal frame, and it's going to be at a price point that is competitive, and competitive in a way that you can not only sell it on your jobs, but you can also provide a product that's better than most of the other knockdown frames that are out there from, you know, some other manufacturers that provide a lower gauge steel, a lower gauge reinforcement, lower gauge, lower quality product. This one's going to be a little bit different than that. So there are a lot of different types of drywall frames or knockdown frames. The DW series is one of them. It's our newest frame that we have out in the market. But we also have one of these. This is a flush face frame, and as you can see, built without returns, and are designed to sleeve the wall after construction. To complete the unique face of the FF series frame is designed to nail and screw holes punched into the face of the frame for easy installation. So if you take a look at this frame, this one is designed to be installed post, post drywall being up, post finished wall being up, and to be drilled in on the face of the opening. Now, something that I think is going to be a little bit cooler than this frame is your remodeling frame. The remodeling frame, now this one has no facing on it. So if you have apartment buildings, any type of multi-housing, things like that, this frame right here, it has the frame going into the door for your door to install, but on the faces, it's going to have nothing. It's just going to have a place where you can screw in. You can then surface apply your wood casing and things like that, your trim that you have for the rest of the building. You can install it right over the face. So instead of having to meet up to a hollow metal frame, you could use this as the ability to use your own casing, keep the aesthetics of the building going and things like that, and use this frame to use in those situations. Excuse me. Now, have you ever been in a situation where a customer calls you and says, we need a hollow metal frame out here. We think it's 6 inches. Okay, we'll buy a 6-inch frame. You go out to the job site and it's actually 7 1/4. Well, we have a frame that can adjust to that. The adjustable series, or the ADJ series, has the ability to adjust, either for a small wall thickness or a large wall thickness. So the small wall thickness will go from a wall that's 4 5/8 all the way up to 7 3/4, and the large wall will go from 7 1/2 all the way up to 11 1/4. If you have anything that's larger than that, let the factory know. They can build almost anything. So just because it's not a standard doesn't mean that it's not available. Now, so drywall frames are not always knocked down. So we have a KD drywall frame, which is going to be knocked down and going to be anchored at the very top of the frame and then anchored at the floor. And then you have a standard drywall frame, which a standard drywall frame is going to be in 3 pieces, and it's going to be installed prior to drywall being installed, and the drywall fits in behind it. So the idea is for it to be broken in a way that it will allow drywall to slide in behind it, unlike the masonry jam. But the KD drywall frame can be installed post installation of that drywall. So you'd put that together after your building's done, after you you just have hollow holes, kind of similar to if you are a wood door manufacturer and pre-hung units. We represent a manufacturer that has a pre-hung unit, wood jam, that has casing already on it, and it's installed after the drywall is put in, and this is going to look exactly the same. So you're going to have the faces of the frame already installed. You're going to have the soffit. You're going to have the whole frame ready to go. You can just put it up in the wall and along the sides there. Thermal break frames. So basically, our thermal break frames have a cavity right where the stop is located, and what it does is it allows for gasketing to be installed, which we provide gasketing to be provided or installed into the frame. So that way it creates a thermal break from the outside of the outside elements going to the inside elements. So it keeps the heat out, it keeps the winter out, it keeps the cold out, and it also keeps the cool, the cool air or the warm air, I guess, depending on if you're in the winter time or the summertime, it keeps that material in. Acclimated air is what I was going for there. So here's what the kerf frame looks like. As you can see right here, it has this cavity, and gasketing is fitted right here. We'll provide that gasketing loose, and so you install it right here into the edge, and you can see that gasketing along the edge of this frame. And basically it's designed so that way it keeps the elements out and it keeps the acclimated air that you have in. So some of the competitive differences between our doors and our frames, which we're going to have 2 slides that represent this. We're STI certified, and we're STI maintained and certified. Our reinforcements are going to be 7 gauge. Our top reinforcement is going to be longer, which allows for that high frequency, heavy rating. It prevents door sag. We have a water-based electrostatic rust inhibited paint that's baked on instead of sprayed on. Our MVS door, no visible seam on the edge, the vertical edge of that door. Polystyrene insulated core is our standard versus the honeycomb core. And on our frame, the same thing. The primer, the STI rating, our frames are brake formed, so that way they are tight and crisp, and we also use 7 gauge hinge reinforcements. Some of the things that I didn't mention in here that we do offer that I don't show is the hurricane doors. Dutch doors, we provide Dutch doors, we provide Dutch door shelves, and we also do stainless steel doors and frames. I didn't mention those in this presentation because they're a little bit rare, and I didn't want to take up all of our time to discuss every single product. But if you have any questions on those, just let me know.